It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. Baltimore's Dan Deacon makes and performs music on his computer. It's outrageous, a little bit silly, and it's brought to life by the intense audience participation at his shows. Back when Deacon was 20, he was studying composition in school, and he had a problem. None of his fellow students could perform the complicated pieces he was writing on his computer. But then he was inspired. He heard the compositions of Conlon Nancaro, an American who spent most of his life in Mexico crafting pieces that could only be played by a player piano. Conlon Nancaro's Canon X is the song that changed Dan Deacon's life.
You know, I'd never heard anything like it before. It'd be like seeing a new color, which I guess is music's like biggest asset, is that you can hear new sounds. I'll probably never see a new color. I'll probably never experience like a new crazy taste, but I'll hear new sounds constantly. And Canon X is definitely the song that just melted my brain. You know, it's an old player piano, and you can obviously tell a player piano from a real piano because it's very clunky and there's not much dynamic movement, or if any dynamic movement. Thousands of fingers. It's playing at such a rate that you can tell that no human is doing it, but you know it's an acoustic instrument. It's not electronic, but it doesn't sound human. It's mechanical. Most experimental music that I was hearing from that time were like arrhythmic. There was no pulse or rhythm to it, and I really loved rhythm. And you know, growing up listening to like, you know, classic rock and pop and stuff, you like that sort of pulse. And while Canon X doesn't have a pulse, it still obviously has like a clear rhythm. And I'm into conceptual art and conceptual music, but it's especially rewarding when it sounds awesome as hell. After I heard the piece, I got really inspired by his story. I just kept thinking, like, how did his brain come to make this? How is this sort of like, this is what I made today. Check it out, guys. Want to hear this? Here it is. Canon X. Here you go. He's tired of being frustrated by having to write music that would fit within the confines of a player's abilities. So he wrote almost exclusively for player piano for decades. It sort of justified in my head that I could be making music that, even if it was unplayable, it was still valid to exist. It didn't need to be performed by humans. The music can exist exclusively on the computer as long as I can find a way to present it appropriately. It sounded like something I've always wanted to hear. Like, did you ever see Dune? And where he like first sees like the Fremen girl from his dream? Like, this song was the Fremen girl from my dream.
Dan Deacon on the song that changed his life, Canon X, composed by Conlon Nancaro. Dan Deacon's Twitter handle is @eBayNetflix.